Hello, good evening, and welcome to the Villa Park podcast. It is me, Rich, and I'm back with Kev and George for your match preview for the big match coming tomorrow, Aston Villa against Wolverhampton Wanderers. Make sure you smash that like button and make sure you hit that subscribe button. We've had some great support over the last week or so. I know we've had so many shows, so many different matches to report on, to preview, to reflect on. So the support has been amazing. Make sure you keep liking the videos. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you're new. We're very close to 4,700 on the road to 5K. So like, subscribe, and get your comments in on tomorrow's game. What your thoughts are, and we're going to get right into it. We'll get predicted lineups, we'll get stats, and we will get our predicted scores. Kev, good evening, mate. When was your last show? Or was it the
I've only
reaction to
missed one,
the
Rich.
Everton
I've
game? All
I've
right.
only missed
I've
I've
done
only
so
missed
many. I
I
just
know.
forget.
I've only missed one of these type of we're not the ones when you're taking on the limelight yourself, which you do admirably, by the way. But I've only had the temerity, the audacity, the
How
gall
dare you?
to miss one show that I normally would be on. So yeah, I apologise, but I'm back, mate. I'm back. When I knew
Good.
George was going to be on, you were going to be on. I couldn't not be here to talk about Villa against the Dingles. So let's go.
Exactly. And George, fresh off, what is it, a 6 hour darts marathon today? How are you
Yeah,
doing, mate?
yeah, I'm all right, lads. Hello, everyone. Yeah, I've had a good go at it today. Yeah, I've been to work, finished about 3, and I thought I've got that Friday feeling, but unfortunately for me, I have to work Saturday day and Saturday night. But I fancied getting on the hockey, and I did, mate. And we've had a really good session today, and
Excellent.
a few beers to
Good.
boot.
Good.
George,
What
everyone,
what more can you do on a Friday, mate?
Exactly.
George, can I ask the burning question? What was your best checkout tonight?
Today, I've done all right today. What do I have? 110,
Oh, nice.
90, 80. Yeah, I've had a few today. It's not been bad.
What's your route for a 110? What route do you go?
Yeah, just triple 20, 10 tops,
Classic,
Yeah.
classic. Not yeah,
Percentages, you know what I mean, Kev?
absolutely, mate. Absolutely. Good, good. Welcome to the Villa Darts podcast.
Welcome to yeah. We're
I think
gonna
you're
be at the
signing on,
alley
Kevin, by the
pally
sounds of it.
in
Yeah.
at Christmas. Don't worry about that. But yeah, good evening, everyone. We've got loads in the chat already. Make sure you smash the like button, like I say, and yeah, keep involved with the chat. So, Villa versus Wolves, Kev, tomorrow. We've had a very good start to the season. Fantastic win in the Champions League on Tuesday night. Players in form. We're going to talk about potential players coming back as well. But let's just talk about our friends across the other side of the West Midlands, or not so much friends, but
Yeah.
they've not had such a good start to the season, have they? Really, it's been a
No, we
bit
haven't. No,
it's been a
they've
bit
not. They've
funny
not.
for Wolves.
It's been a bit funny the back end of last season as well. Jim's asked, by the way, why are they called the Dingles? It was that family in Emmerdale, wasn't it? Weren't they from like the Black Country all the years ago? So
Mm.
I think it comes from that. All right, Amia, and all that. Yeah. You know what? The Wolves are an interesting one actually, because I really think they did generally pretty well since I've had Gary O'Neill. Obviously, there was that whole departure of Lopetegui, wasn't there? Like
Mm.
almost very, very similar to when O'Neill left us in that last week before the season started. I actually had Wolves in some of my predictions to go down last season. I thought they did really well. I think they got some really good players. Obviously, they keep losing players and still managing to do it, but it feels like lately they're struggling to get results. I think they've got one draw, 3 losses. And it's the kind of game where, it was interesting actually when I saw some of the stuff on Sky about this game today. They talk about when they do that whole, we've got a press conference coming up from Unai Emery, and then 3 hours later they still haven't showed anything about it. Luckily, I didn't sit there for 3 hours, but they made
Just
the
two and
point
a
that Villa,
half.
2 hours 48 minutes. I was waiting there for it. They made the point that Villa haven't got the best record against Wolves since their return to the Premier League. Their only victory was last season. So actually, we won the last game against them. Yeah, they're a funny team, but I think they've got some real assets in that team. But I do think that the worse, obviously, this run goes on, that they're just. I think the problem the Wolves have got now is because obviously they lack options. they're just hoping that the Ipswich's, the Southamptons, Forest have obviously had a decent start, so they would have thought they would have been someone near, and Brentford are doing okay. So the Leicesters of the world, these are the probably teams that they want to try and get themselves, 5-10 points clear of, because if they were to lose a Cunha or a Hwang or an Eight Nori, who they might be missing tomorrow, these key players, I'm not sure they've got loads left underneath in terms of sort of top level Premier League. But I love having Wolves in the Premier League. I mean, I actually do think Wolves, even though you and me particularly, obviously our age, we would have known Wolves when they were in the 4th tier. Like, Wolves for me were never this team of the 50s and 60s, Billy Wright, where they were so famous. They, for me, were like 3 or 4 tiers below us.
Andy Much, Steve Ball.
Steve Ball. Yeah. Like that. I mean, they actually had some quite cool hero players, and Andy Thompson and Sid Cowan's played for them, obviously down the line after that. Mark Blake, loads of players. Mike Stowell in goal. But obviously there was that spell. Do you remember about? I'm really going on a tangent here, but stick with me. I think it was about mid-2000s. The closest game to Villa was either Reading or Sheffield United in the Premier League. I remember that one season, it's like 05-06. So I love having particularly a team like Wolves. They've got a really rich history. People are going to think I'm a Wolves fan if I keep this going, but rich history, really famous club. And I just think it's good. It's good for the West Midlands. It's not as big as a derby, obviously, as the Blues, but it's nice with that derby that I think we're finally, hopefully, putting them back, because there was a lot of mind the gap stuff coming from Wolves fans, which I'm finally glad has gone away a little bit. Right, I'll let someone else talk now.
I was gonna say, you're gonna break into Wolverhampton. But George,
none of that.
Kev is right, because there is an element of potential pressure. If anyone's seen the opposition preview in the away end with Dan from Wolves Fancast, was talking about, he's fairly bullish about Wolves at the moment, no pun intended, but he was saying that I think they've had something like 1 win in 16 with regards to Gary O'Neill. And, you're thinking, yes, you don't want to get too panicked at the start of the season. There's only 4 games in. But if they lose today, I think they've then got like really tough games coming up. I think Man City are one of those games away from home. You can soon see that pressure mounting on the manager, can't you?
Yeah, mate. Yeah, if 1 in 16 is right, that's unbelievable. I mean, God, and most managers would be sacked on that. But yeah, as Kev, you literally, without knowing it, you nicked one of my lines there. I'm stunned, because what you said about Wolves reminding you of like Villa without O'Neill, I was literally thinking that about 20 minutes ago. I was looking at their squad, and you know this.
I've only had a peppermint tea. You've had 6 points, so there you go.
Yeah, but I was sort of thinking to myself, I'm still thinking of Nuno's Wolves that we battled with in the Championship. They come up, then a couple of years later we come up. You're thinking of the Moutinhos and Neveses, and help me out with a few more there, but they had some good players, didn't they? Johnny Jota, and all them.
Jota,
yeah, good players, but
good players. Yeah,
I just had a little look at their squad, and they reminded me of when O'Neill went, and all of a sudden we went down in, and Barry suddenly wasn't there, Ashley Young wasn't there, and you're suddenly thinking, who have them lot got? And all we had left was Gabby, wasn't it? Mm-hmm. And I'm looking at that Wolves squad thinking, Jesus Christ, they've not got much left. But sorry, go on, Rich.
No, you go. You carry on.
Yeah, Gary O'Neill, though, I really do rate. I think he's a really good manager, and one of the best English managers there is at the minute. Unfortunately, he just keeps kind of getting like left with the shit. Look, since he's left Bournemouth, they've spending loads of money now. But it just seems that Gary O'Neill's like one of these managers, young managers. Oh, you can make do. We'll sack you, and then we'll give the next manager the money. But that it's still a dangerous game. But this isn't the Wolves of a few years ago. And like you say, what is it? One win so far?
I'm sure he said 1 win in 14 or 16 or something. They haven't won yet this season. They drew a game. But yeah, I think that's something like that since the kind of going back into last season.
Obviously played like Arsenal and Chelsea, had a tough start to the season.
Yeah.
I think they'll be okay. I think there's worse teams, but, I think this is definitely a kind of a time where Wolves have probably done their money, like we say about Everton the other week when they'd done all their money. I think Wolves are now having to tighten up the strings a little bit because they've had a little go at it, and now, the financial, it's all got to tie up, hasn't it? And they'll probably have to be in the doldrums for a little bit.
But
Yeah.
it's interesting, isn't it? How like even at this really early stage of the season, how you can see like one game could be so pivotal. Obviously, it's not. I remember last season, like with Villa, it was like if Villa don't win this game, is that top four done? Oh, that draw against Sheffield United at home, is that top four done? You start seeing all these things, and you realise you've got probably 10 or 15 more opportunities across the season where you could still drop points and still do it. But based on their end of season form, based on the start of the season, they've only had a draw against Forest, and then obviously they've lost all the other games. Their next their next fixtures, they've obviously got us away tomorrow. Then they've got Liverpool at home. Then they've got Brentford away, Man City at home, and then Brighton away.
That's a tough
I
old
mean,
run,
That's
Kev,
it.
isn't it?
It's a
that
really
is a
tough run.
tough.
Yeah.
Because Brentford, have been in good form, and I know they've obviously got Wissa out now as well, but they've been in good form. And after that, I think they've got a few other teams they might fancy a little bit in terms of the fixtures. But let's say they lose to Liverpool, lose to Man City, very likely, lose to Brighton away, lose to Villa. Maybe they get a point, say, against Brentford, whatever. Let's say they get 1 or 3 points max out of that. They're banging trouble. And then every game is pressure, and it is when you've got a couple of injuries, you can see why these kind of teams are gonna like every fixture now feels like pressure. We've got different pressure. I think maybe we want to keep that pressure on top four, but for Wolves, it's a shame, isn't it? How they've gone on it big, and it looks like now they're Kilman's gone, Neto's gone. It's a tricky one, isn't it?
Yeah, I was just going to say that to you, Kev. They've lost Kilman and Neto, big players for them. They've not really replaced them. They've kind of said that they haven't got much money, but then they spent sort of 20-25 million on Andre, the central midfielder. A couple of players I do really still like, though, and I do think they are pretty strong in midfield. They did play very, very well against Newcastle for 70-75 minutes.
Yeah.
Is Lamina and Gomez, and then Cunha. I do think that they'll still be very physical in that central midfield area. So we will have to be on our game because they have got a good mix, that keeping possession, keeping the ball moving, and also, knowing when to put their foot in and breaking quickly as well when they do have an opportunity to.
Yeah, they have got some really good players. I totally agree. I think Lamina is a really, really good player. Obviously got a good goal the other day. Gomez I think is a cracking player. Obviously, he's had international honours, hasn't he, as well?
Mm-hmm.
And Cunha, yeah, I mean Cunha obviously was looked like he couldn't hit a cow's what's the phrase? A cow's bottom with a banjo.
Yeah.
Yeah, careful what you say. But I think last season at times he was absolutely sparkling going forward, and I think he's got a lot of pace, hasn't he? A lot of power, a lot of skill. So they've definitely got some assets, but I think Ait-Nouri, if he's not there, will be a big miss for him. He's a really, really, really good player.
Yeah, he's very good dribbling with the ball. I think where they're lacking, George, and you've touched on it, is that squad element. Newcastle the other day made a triple substitution at half time and bringing on, Harvey Barnes, who got the winner, Callum Willock, and they've still got players injured as well. And I think they even made a couple of substitutions further on in the game. Whereas Wolves, they brought on a young lad in central midfield, and I think maybe Huang. That was it. So you can certainly see that gulf now. And that is reflected with Villa as well. You look at the quality of substitutions that we can make. It does make a massive difference now moving forward. The team that you start with isn't necessarily the one that's going to be winning the game for you at the end, and that's absolutely rang true for Villa.
Yeah, it's a squad game for sure. I mean, we've been saying it for a long time now. You've got to forget what's your best 11, who's starting. It doesn't really matter. The game can go on for 100 minutes now. The amount of 90th minute, you see on the caption, didn't you? The goal goes in 90. What does that mean? 90 could mean 91. It could be 99. It could mean 103. The game goes on now, and strength and depth. Obviously the 5 subs got brought in, and it all means a bit more now than it used to. And it is a squad game, and it does kind of feel like not everyone, but the kind of natural order of what the Premier League once was is slowly returning. You've now got the Villas up there, the Newcastle's up there. The only one really that's letting the side down is Everton. Leeds had a little flirt with it for a couple of years, but they couldn't sustain it. But you've had a lot of years, didn't you, where there was Wolves and teams like that sort of upsetting the apple cart. Brighton, the latest one that's had a good go, but slowly but surely, it's like the old-fashioned teams are coming back. I think it's quite nice to see, to be fair. But you know, it is, yeah, it's a squad game, and you've you know, the success breeds success, which allows you to buy the extra players. Everyone's got to have stronger squads now because obviously of the 5 subs and the Europe and that. So, you know, it is what it is. And luckily, at the moment, we seem to be on the right side of that.
Definitely.
I like that, George, as well, saying of the old order, because I totally agree. Spurs in 13th, West Ham in 14th, Man United in 10th.
Man, who I've never heard of him. Never heard of him.
Yeah, well, this is exactly what I remember from like pre-1992 and pre probably 10 years ago for Spurs and West Ham. So yeah, that's how we like it. It's only Man City at the top that kind of ruins it. Man City, what are they? So yeah, but no, I think you make a really, really good point there. Like, you know, Newcastle, Villa, these kind of teams, you know, being up there, being about it is absolutely where I think for us, we think those kind of teams should be right at the top of the Premier League.
Definitely. So on to Villa, Kev. Well, a couple of players that maybe could feature into the squad, and it's a really good boost. And Unai Emery is absolutely buzzing in his press conference, as buzzing as he is in these press conferences. But Boubacar Kamara now fully training with the players, 100%, and Tyrone Mings in the distance there, fully training with the players. That's got to be a boost, hasn't it? I know we were having a bit of a debate in our WhatsApp group as to whether they do make it into the kind of match day squad or whether they wait, but it's still a boost nonetheless.
It's a huge boost. I mean, I think I put out a tweet fairly recently when it was like Kamara and Mings back in full training. We're going to win a lot. Like, I just think that those two for our squad are probably, other than maybe a wide forward, you know, in terms of traditional like winger sort of Diaby replacement, or maybe that kind of like that Joe Felix, Jack Grealish, Kevin De Bruyne, you know, creative player. Centre half strength has been massively missed. And Kamara's ability in that defensive midfield position, I think, is, even though we've got, you know, obviously Onana doing what he's doing and Tielemans and Barkley, I think he's going to be a huge asset for us. Huge, huge, huge. I think he's got the potential for me to be as good as any player in our squad. Kamara, I think he's got everything, as he's a Rolls Royce of a player. Now, I'm basing this on how we dealt with Buendia, because Buendia's been back for a bit and only recently started to get a bit of game time. Based on that, I don't think they'll be in the squad. There's an outside chance they might maybe make the bench for Wickham, and, you know, depends how they feel, maybe get 10, 15 minutes, how that's going. But, you know, you wouldn't want to be going away on a cold Tuesday night, you know, nearly in October, doing your hamstring, you know, against a lower league team. But it's just brilliant. And then you look at the benches recently. Who's going to have to drop out for that?
This is what I was looking at earlier when we were chatting.
This is exactly what I was going to ask you, George. You know, let's say they do. I think there's only Jaden Philogene who's not going to be in the squad.
Kashi,
maybe Matty Cash, but he was pictured in training the other day. I don't know how. I don't think he's any closer. But you've got Bailey, who was on the bench the other day. You've got Caden Young, obviously, who's on the bench.
That was the spot. That's the spot I was thinking of. One of them probably comes in now.
Out. Yeah. But you know, you're talking a really, really strong bench now. Buendia obviously has made a couple of appearances. Barkley's done well off the bench. Some big players there. You know, you certainly don't need to have 2 goalkeepers on this bench now.
No, exactly, mate. We've got to make the most of it while everyone's fit. You know, Kev's right. Mings and Kamara, 2 real proper players, proper personalities on the pitch. Especially, you know, Mings for the organisation. Kamara doesn't even need to talk; he just dictates it, doesn't he? When he plays, you know, Kamara's only weak link really for me is sometimes his passing is a bit suspect. But with the midfielders we've got now, all Kamara needs to do is the old the Canberra role, doesn't he? Win it and pass it to someone better. You know, don't try and be a hero. We've got players now to just win the ball and give it, mate. Be a simple number 6. But he's coming back into the team as far as I'm concerned. And yeah, you know, it's great to have this depth in the squad. And I don't know. Say it's a selection headache, but you'd rather have it than not have it, wouldn't you?
100%. 100%. The a couple of kind of, before I put my predicted lineup up, a couple of, I guess, slight quandaries, slight, you know, maybe issues, challenges, nice problems to have that Unai Emery might have. The Ollie Watkins John Duran, and he obviously talked about Duran today and said he's very, very, very close to getting a starting lineup. Also looking at him and Watkins working together. Watkins fully fit as well, Kev, to appear tomorrow. Do you think there's a chance we see Watkins and Duran up top together?
I'm not sure. A local derby maybe is the game for it. I'm not sure. He also wants to change his system that's been working really well. Even in the,
Mm.
our unblemished record this season was blemished by Arsenal, right? And we've obviously kept winning after that. And we had our chances in that game to be probably 2-3 up potentially, So and then that would have been a different result. So it's working. We're creating chances. We've got control of games. Do you change that to try and keep Duran happy? That's the question. Well, he ain't getting sold now till January at best, and it's unlikely he's even getting sold in January based on how the season has started for him. So he's just going to have to bide his time. But that is the way it is in a top Premier League team. Look at Chelsea.
Exactly.
Look at
Stop obsessing about starting games. It doesn't matter, does it? You
yeah,
play how much you play, mate. Just make an impact while you are on.
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I
Look,
mean, I agree with you. We talk about subs and they change games. I'm more talking about, obviously Duran wants to start. He's wanting to. He's seeing himself as the number one. But I think the great situation is that he has almost forced Emery to think of playing them up together up front together, because that then gives us another option. It gives us another way of playing. It makes us see on Unai Emery unlocking another way that Villa can play.
I'm not. How are they going to work it out, though? I mean, what does Watkins suddenly become Leon Bailey? Does he go back out to the right like he used to play at Brentford, or are you playing a flat, like a proper 4-4-2? Because the 4-4-2 we play is like, it's not really, is it? It's kind of
No.
it's one off the other. I don't know. I'm not quite sure how that would
Maybe
work. I
maybe
don't
one
think
of
they'll
them,
do it, mate.
yeah, maybe one of them drops into the space that Morgan Rogers took. He
Yeah, but
plays
then does
off of
Rogers have to
Watkins.
get dropped, Rich?
Well, again, you've said there.
Yeah,
Does it matter if a player gets dropped?
yeah,
They
yeah,
come
yeah.
on
Fair
and
point.
they do something different. Horses for courses, isn't it?
it,
It's just
it, it,
Yeah.
it,
interesting to
it's
see.
dropped the right word.
No.
Rotated,
Yeah,
Yeah,
fair enough.
rotated,
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
rotated. We're not
yeah.
dropping his players, but we're keeping them. Does Gundogan and Grealish and Kovacic, do they get dropped, rotated?
Yeah, 100%. No, you're right. You're right.
Mm. Yeah, it's. I mean, and also it's players that are ultimately playing at the top of their game, and you want to keep them at the top of their game. And we know it's a long season, don't we? All those cliches, and we know how much we were struggling towards the back end of last season. We know we needed somewhere to freshen it up at the end of seasons. Some teams get used to how you play. If you can
Yeah.
switch it up and change it a little bit, then obviously we know the impact that Morgan Rogers had once he got his feet under the table towards the back end of last season. He was an absolute breath of fresh air because teams didn't know how to handle him. Duran's got this little bit of him at the moment where he's obviously flying high in confidence, but other teams don't quite know what to do with him when he comes on. So the more that you can do with that, the better. But it is an interesting conundrum for Unai Emery to figure out. But I'm sure he's glad now that they didn't let him go. I'm sure he is.
Yeah, absolutely correct. And the thing as well is that as you've seen this season from him, how are you going to get a better second striker? The
Mm.
more and more I see of him, I know we've been saying this for a bit of time now, but I genuinely believe that we've got the best front two as in striking options in the entire Premier League. I can't believe I'm saying it. Aston Villa, of Brad Guzan and El Mahdi and Brett Holman.
Oh, don't shuddering.
Like we've got the best goalie in the world. We've got the best two strikers in the league. Stop it. You mentioned obviously Rich about their midfield, so I do think we probably would try and have a strong midfield to match that up. That's one thing I'd say. And of course, we've got Wickham on Tuesday. You're going to start a striker in that game. If you're going to start Watkins, maybe Wolves makes more sense to then start to run against Wickham. We've obviously got some big games coming up as well. If hopefully the result's positive, Ipswich away is a game that we've got to be. It won't be easy, but you got to be hoping we win that. And then obviously we've got the big game against Bayern coming up. So,
Who's after Bayern, lads? Do we know?
In the Champions League?
No, the league game after Bayern.
I'll
Good question. We'll find out
Sorry,
for
I've
you.
tricked you boys there, haven't I?
You're all right.
I will tell you shortly. So we've got Bayern on the 2nd. We've just got Manchester United at home on the Sunday.
Yeah, that's all.
Of course it is. Of course it is.
Yeah. But then we've got we've got 13 days off. Then we don't play until the
international break, and then Fulham away,
yeah.
Bologna at home.
Yeah. So you've got a bit of rest time again. Be interested to see if Watkins is carrying another little injury. Be interesting to see also whether they let Morgan Rogers go if he gets called up by the 21s again. But I don't know. I'd be amazed if he keeps doing what he's doing. If he gets a couple of goals and assists in the next couple of games, Watkins, to be fair, he should have had a couple of assists this season already from Watkins. He's letting down on that. But maybe he'll get in the full squad.
Nice comment from Captain Villa. I will get to quite a few comments in a bit. We should rest some starters for Bayern.
But listen. All jokes aside, imagine saying, we're going to play Mings against Kane and rest Pau Torres. We're going to take Onana out and put Kamara in.
Exactly.
Oh my God, what?
It's been worse, lads, isn't it? It's definitely been worse.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's been way worse.
Want to shout out Scotty UK $4.99 super chat. Thank you so much, mate. Let's see these dingles off. Mind the gap. Yes,
nice
definitely.
Cheers, mate.
One other talking point, as I say before, I kind of put the team up that I've predicted. There's no major shock, to be honest. But the Lamar Bogard, and there's been lots in the chat about him and maybe taking him out of the team for a bit. People saying, Unai Emery likes him and wants to keep him in. He's not been part of a losing side yet. I won't tell you which side of the fence I'm sitting on at the moment, but it was interesting that he came off at half-time. Konsa went back out to right back, and Diego Carlos came on, and barring that kind of brain freeze that he had where he made a bad pass, I thought he played pretty well. What do you think with regards to Lamar Bogard, Kev, moving into Saturday?
Look, he's done okay, hasn't he? I think the thing is now with when you're a top team, I still have to pinch myself saying that, right? Like, I think we could play one of us at right back and we'd probably still do okay, because we've got the quality of players around to carry it. That's why, we joke about this, right? But you see many times when a Man City or an Arsenal, Liverpool go down to 10 men, it's not often they get battered by a Brentford or a Palace or whatever. So it just go to show, like, the sum of the parts is greater, and all that kind of stuff. But I think we have to call it as we've seen it. There's been some shaky moments. And then there's this whole question about why isn't he playing Nedeljkovic when Nedeljkovic actually international break particularly looked really good. And I thought for a more likely games like an Everton at home, more possession, home fans, you might play him. But I'll just say my view on this is quite simple. I feel a hell of a lot better about the world when Konsa's right back and Carlos and Torres or Carlos and Mings are centre halves. I just feel a hell of a lot better about everything. Safety, security, strength, experience. I just think it's there. If Cashew was in, fine. Obviously he's got the experience, but I just felt we looked like, I know we were 2 up, right? But there's been a couple of situations, hasn't there? He nearly made a mistake against young boys. Lunged in the box, could have easily given a penalty away potentially. And I just think that he's coming to the team. He's got a bit of experience. He's around the squad, which is great. But it's probably been a sticking plaster over a small wound solution type thing. But hopefully, and I mean this with all the respect to the world, we see a little bit less of him because I think with some of these games he might get a bit found out with his experience.
Mm-hmm. Rachel said, I see both the positives and negatives for both Costa and Bogard, so it's what Emery thinks will fit. It could be Konsa as right back after all of this as well. So yeah, we'll see. I think Sharik was in the chat saying we just need to rest Bogard for a little bit. Villa fan says I would line up tomorrow. Konsa, Costa, Pau and Digne. Tielemans, Onana, McGinn, Rogers, Bailey, and Duran. Wow. So resting Watkins there. Yeah, Sharik said Bogard needs dropping youngster or not. He's not showing anything to suggest he can do well at this level so far, other than, in brackets, he's a local lad. Well, he's Dutch under 21, isn't he? But
I don't know how locally he is, but yeah, he might live locally, but I think he's from
Yeah.
he's from Rotterdam.
Gary's in with the jokes again. He needs a
Yeah.
loan to FC
Very good.
Casablanca.
Frankly, Gary, I don't give a damn about your comments. So.
So my predicted team for the Wolves game is dun dun dun. Emi Martinez. I've gone for Esri Konsa at right back, Diego Carlos in at centre back, Pau Torres and Luca Dean, Amadou Onana, Yuri Tielemans, McGinn off the right, Ramsey, and then Rogers playing off Ollie Watkins. So no real surprises. Just I think that he might go with that just for a bit more strength. And I think in terms of targeting Bogard, I think he has been targeted the last couple of games. And if Wolves are going to hurt us, it'll probably be Cunha. He will certainly target a player like Bogard. He's strong runner. And I think they've got that Bellegarde as well, who's a pretty fast player. So I'd maybe go for a little bit more strength and obviously set pieces as well. They can be dangerous. So if that would be my team. What about you boys? Any changes to that?
I don't think that's going to be far off. But there's part of me thinking, like, we've just shelled out 37 million on Maatsen. Like, how long is he going to be a sub for? I know Luca Dean's quality, isn't he? But he's 31, 32? He's played, 3-4 games on the bounce. Now played the midweek as well. Maybe he will start this one and it'll be Maatsen against Wickham. But I'm sure Maatsen looking forward is going to be he's bought in to be the number one right back, I assume. But, otherwise than that, mate, your team looks pretty much right. I expect Watkins to start again, and I think it'll be Duran against Wickham, and Duran will probably come off the bench again for Watkins at some stage, to satisfy his game time.
Yeah.
Kev, any thoughts?
I'd have that team that you had. That'd be my team as well. I hear exactly loud and clear what George is saying. Do you remember last season, though? Probably got to October, November, and everyone's saying, why have we signed this Tielemans character?
Yeah,
he's over the hill. He's played too many games at this age. He's lazy. He can't get in the team. He's apparently moaning it via his agent. And then look at him now. He'd be many people's. The crazy thing about Aston Villa right now, in a good way, is the following. Tielemans is arguably our player of the month, right? He'd be many people's first name on the team sheet with his current form, and he could easily be dropped if Kamara comes back in. This is a mental world to live in for Aston Villa. We've got such a quality of squad. There he is. That you could easily say, well, what are you going to do if you're not dropping McGinn, which I know the debate is it McGinn? But if you're not dropping McGinn and you got Rogers, and you got an Arna, like I'm not saying Tielemans should be dropped. I'm just saying that's how you can go from a situation where one of your best players could be a rotated player.
I don't think it'll be Tielemans. If that occasion does arise, he'll find another spot for Tielemans, and it'll be one of the others, won't it?
I agree, but I think you get my point. Like you've got a situation where someone is that good. I wouldn't be surprised also though if he did all of a sudden say, Duran in for Watkins, Digne, have a rest for a week, son. He's been brilliant, Digne hasn't he?
This is it.
And he gives experience, doesn't he?
On our Talking Tactics show, Gareth was saying that Luca Dean at the moment is fast becoming almost the most important player in the team.
Yeah, so, the attacks are down the left-hand side, aren't they, all the time?
Yeah.
This happens, though, doesn't it? When a new player comes in, the player that's got the shirt works that double hard, don't they, to keep their shirt?
Yeah. And also the subs as well. Maatsen came on the other day, created the most chances in the game, three chances. So you're bringing on your subs. I mean, Duran, even against, obviously, young boys of Bern, what a finish. I thought his link-up play was brilliant. That move was fantastic. So you've got a situation with Villa now where all of a sudden, with half an hour to go, we're bringing on the expendables. You've got Van Damme, you've got Schwarzenegger, you've got Stallone, you've got everybody. It's like, wow, we're bringing on these big guns.
Think about it. On Saturday, it's most likely going to be a substitution option of Leon Bailey, Ian Maatsen, Ross Barkley, John Duran. I mean, that's incredible. The changes you can make there, the quality that you bring off the bench is just frightening. And then if Boubacar Kamara, Emi Buendia as well, I haven't even mentioned him.
And he looked really good when he
Buendia,
came on, didn't he?
That's 5 brilliant
And the
substitutions
thing
there.
is, all of them are flexible as well. It's not as
Yeah.
if they can just come on and play one position.
Exactly.
That's all flexible players you just mentioned.
Yeah.
We've got some strength in depth.
Add Mings to that list.
Mm-hmm.
Like it is brilliant, isn't it? It's really good.
Excited as well. Just before we kind of move to the stats and predictions to finish up, I'm really excited that Ramsey got back to his best, or looked back to his best on Tuesday, and that link up that he's got with Morgan Rogers, you can tell that they're close, close friends off the pitch, and that translates onto the pitch. And the way that they both run with the ball, the way that they can link up together is a frightening prospect for any defense that they're coming up against at the minute.
Yeah, it's brilliant. George, what's your thoughts on that? What do you reckon?
Yeah, well, I said a few weeks ago, I fancied them two fighting it out for one position. And, with Kamara, I'm assuming Kamara eventually comes back in and plays. So I still think what I'm saying is possibly right. But they seem to get on great off the pitch. They seem to have a nice relationship when they are playing at the moment. Both quite similar, really, aren't they?
Yeah.
Ramsey obviously not as strong as Rodgers, but they're both trying to kind of do the same thing. Both travel well with the ball, get us, what's the word? Get us
territory up the pitch.
Yeah, get us territory up the pitch. Both valuable players, both youngsters, both English, both local. So if they've got a bit of a bromance going on, then good luck to them, and I hope they both can keep producing the goods.
We mentioned this the other night. I don't know if it was a fans forum or whatever, but I think someone asked the question about the England team. You've potentially got Rodgers, Ramsey, Watkins, Philogene is in the under 21s as well. Then you've got Konsa. You've got, I think the time's gone for Mings. I think you were saying, George, but
never know.
Ross Barkley as well, still sniffing around with an England
don't
team.
Forget as well. Don't forget Bogart's a local lad. So Bogart, maybe. sorry, easy gag. Sorry.
But yeah, I mean, it's exciting Lee Carsey might as well get his season ticket.
I think he's going to be doing a few trips, isn't he?
Yeah.
It is brilliant to see, and particularly in obviously the week when we've lost, the only Brummie in the team in that European Cup winning team. Obviously the legend of Gary Shaw. Such horrible, sad news for the club. But what better way to kind of look to the future? When you've got two local lads in Morgan Rogers and Jacob Ramsey at the heart of the team. We felt we lost a bit of that when Grealish obviously left, and then Dean Smith left, and obviously Ramsey was in and about the team, but we weren't sure how he was going to progress. There was a lot of talk early on: is he going to be good enough? To see them marauding forward the other night, Ramsey looking fantastic. Rodgers obviously this season has been everyone's talking about Rodgers, and all the football pundits talking about Rodgers. And they're two local lads. And I think Rodgers has even said, hasn't he, this week? Ramsey has obviously got his love for the Villa, and he's a West Brom fan, isn't he? So Rodgers, so he doesn't like the Wolves.
Batter Wolves, yeah.
So I mean, and you wouldn't want those two running it at you. You might just think about this nightmare. So you got those two running at you. In a bit, Duran's coming on. Matson's going to be flying down the left in a bit. Barkley's going to be dictating it, and they're not even starting the match. I forgot about Bailey. It's just wonderful, isn't it? But you always like a situation when you've got a local link. Think about all the teams over the years. You had obviously all of the Manchester lads at Man United, the Nevilles, but obviously, all the players that play for that team that had that kind of local link. Liverpool with Gerrard and obviously Carragher. It's not essential, but it makes a massive difference for that kind of link with the fans. And when you've got that alongside players like a Martinez, like an Onana already, that are building a real affiliation with the fans,
doesn't he?
Yeah.
It just builds the camaraderie. It builds that kind of aura and that feeling that we're doing something. And I think it strengthens not just strengthens the bond between the players and the fans, but it then strengthens the fans' response to the players in games. So you can start to get the level of sucking the ball into the net being the strongest it's ever been. You can get to a point when we're 2 down against Everton and everyone's like, we'll probably win it still. Which is just mental to think that, isn't it?
Absolutely. People, on a Friday night, we've gotten very, very nearly 200 watching across all platforms. We don't want to stop there, so Make sure you smash that like button if you're watching on YouTube and subscribe to the channel. We're getting very close, as I said before, to 4,700 subscribers on the road to 5K. If you're watching on X as well, follow us on our socials at Villa Park Pod, at KTAVFC, and at Fowler Legend. And yeah, help us keep the comments flowing in. We will get your predictions in a second. Rich is in the chat as well on X, so great to have you on board. Actually, I think you might be watching on X and on YouTube. So, mate, you're doing your bit to get the viewers up. So, thank you very much there, mate.
Legend.
Let's take a look at the stats. So, Wolves have. I know we beat them last season, but we have had, the odd sort of ding dong battle with them. They haven't always they haven't always been an easy opponent for us. We went to their ground last season, watched Villa draw 1-1, usually very tight games as well. Obviously, the last few games we won 2-0 last season in the Premier League, drew 1-1. They beat us 1-0. 1-1 the season before and 2-1 the season before that. I do remember, I think the start of Dean Smith's downfall when we were 2-0 up with like 5 minutes to go and ended up beating us 3-2 or something.
On birthday that was.
Yeah, yeah. So that was a horrible one. And other defeats that we've had where we've not really turned up, particularly at Molineux. But recent form, obviously 3 wins from 5 going back to last season for Villa. No wins at all for Wolves, as I said before. I think it's something like 1 win in 16 in the league. So they're on a real bad run. Currently in 18th position, 5th position for Villa. And yeah, they don't really score many goals, conceding almost 3 per game at the minute. Obviously, Chelsea scoring a lot of those goals from the start of the season. And we've talked about kind of the feeling that their squad isn't quite what it was. So opportunity for Villa, Kev, but certainly one that we shouldn't be taking lightly.
No, you take no game lightly in the Premier League. I'll always come back to arguably the worst team in Premier League history when 1 minute from beating us last season when we had to win that game to go top of the league on a 15-game consecutive winning run at home. That is an unbelievable stat. The team that would have been the best team in the country on Boxing Day, who'd won 15 home games in a row, nearly got turned over at home by the worst team, some say, ever. So you never take any team for granted, and I think Unai knows that himself. He referred to, obviously, his experience against young boys when Villarreal were 2 up and then 2-2 and that kind of stuff, so he gets it. And it did feel like with Villa Wolves, where, 20 years ago when they came back, we were beating them all and sundry, Angel banging them in, all sorts of stuff going on. But other than that, I think it was 4-1 about 2018 maybe.
The
When we had
championship, yeah.
Yes, in the championship,
Snodgrass,
Steve Bruce.
And they won the league as well that year.
Yeah, they won the league that season. I think that was our best performance under Steve Bruce.
Probably our best performance in the championship.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely up there. But that felt like it was the only time we played well against Wolves, probably up until like when we beat them last season. That Rich, you talk about that 2-0. I remember that 2-0 at Villa Park victory. Sorry, lead. And then, I mean, that was just horrendous. I think Ings and McGinn scored, and then all of a sudden it was like 3-2. In fact, when we played Forest last season, I saw Nuno on the side of the pitch. And obviously it was 3-0 and then it went to 3-2, didn't it? I was thinking this, and obviously I think we won 4-2 in the end. I was getting all manner of flashbacks on that. Yeah. We've just found them a difficult team. You're right. When we went to that game last season, didn't we? The 1-1, and I thought we were probably the better team on balance, and we probably could have. I think we hit the post in the last minute, didn't we? Watkins maybe, but there was that. I think it was the season before. They beat us 1-0 at their place. Painful game towards the end of the season.
Yes.
Yeah, when we finished 7th that season, but we looked like that might have been a result. I think Man United and Wolves bit us back to back, and both of them were pretty turgid, sort of like poor games. There was that game at Villa Park where Bailey missed an absolute sitter.
Oh yeah,
night game to that's when everyone thought Bailey was an absolute liability. So look how that changed. Yeah, send him back. So it's not been a happy hunting ground recently, but like all things with Unai in charge. I just think I don't even think about any of that. Everything for me has been reset. I don't care who we're playing. It's all been reset because of Emery. The mindset's reset. I don't think there's any of that hangover anymore now. You lose a game. We did it last season. You get straight back on the horse and win the next one. So I really fancy us to win tomorrow. I think we're in great form. We've only lost to Arsenal. They're not in good form. We're at home. we've got a big opportunity. That'll be 4 wins out of 5. That'll be 12 points out of 15, only losing to a title, one of the top 2 favourites for the title. So I really, really fancy it. And I just think hopefully we get a fast start and don't even give them an opportunity to settle. Yeah, I'm feeling really good about it.
Yeah. We've got predictions coming in already. Just a couple of things before we get all the predictions in. Gary wanted to comment, and I did want to bring this up. I've just watched the Villa ladies team. They had a really good performance against Chelsea, and very, very unlucky not to get back in the game. And the keeper nearly scored an equaliser right at the end. But a fresh team, new players, look like they're playing some really good football. So, obviously, best of luck to the ladies going forwards, because I think they certainly had a tough season last season. So hopefully they can be a bit stronger this season. But they're definitely signs look good against Chelsea.
Yeah,
I don't know if you
I
boys
managed.
watched it.
Yeah, in between watching Despicable Me 2, I managed to catch a bit of that in between when the kids get run off to do stuff. I thought they played actually pretty well. It was a tough season last season, but I mean Chelsea were league champions, and they were clinging on at the end. Chelsea, so to lose 1-0, it was still a defeat, but it's I think there's positive signs there. And I'm really hopeful that the ladies team can have a good season. Just on that note of obviously ladies football, obviously it's the anniversary of Maddie Cusack, obviously sad death, and I think recently there was the Abingdon United player Jack Badger. Obviously, I think he also took his own life. So just a little shout out to anybody. Obviously it's quite poignant at the time, but there's always a help out there, and it's just really sad to see these two people prime in their life, just to see the tributes lately of what's happened. And just a reminder of obviously how precious and fragile life is, basically. I just wanted to kind of get that out there.
Yeah, 100%, mate. Well said. Absolutely. And a question I'll come to you, George. Question from Paul. Which month will Watkins beat Gabby's record of league goal scorer? I think, how many more has he got? Kev, you can get us on with the stats there.
I think he's about 12 or 13 behind, isn't he?
Yeah, is he 12 or 13? So now he's got the 2. Do you think he can, what are you thinking, George? February, March time, maybe?
Gabby's on 73. Watkins is on 61.
It's coming. It's just a matter of time, lads, isn't it? Let's face it. Christmas time, maybe just after, hopefully. It's long overdue as well. I mean,
I know.
I don't need to say it.
I want a Villa player to get 100 Premier League goals.
Yeah, I think the tally it's low, isn't it? Like for a so-called big club. So it's about time someone put a real mark on it. And we need someone knocking on 100 goals, don't we, to make it sort of make it proper. But yeah, I don't know. I couldn't give you an exact month, but yeah, he's going to do it, and it's going to be this year.
100%.
Yeah, it's an interesting point that because we think about legends of our club, right? Players that have been really pinnacle for us in Premier League. Benteke got 42, Carew got 37, Dean Saunders 37. Dane Atkinson, what a player, what a cool era, 22 Premier League goals, and not loads. Merson got 18, Hendry got 27.
None of them were there for that long, though, were they? Really?
No.
How many has York got? Was York on that? York must be on the list.
60. Well, Watkins overtook him. My premonition tweet before Everton saying he's going to get his 2 goals. He's going to show everyone about it, and he needed 2 to overtake Yorkie because he was on 59. So, I mean, if our Villa's record, I'm just putting this out there, right? Our Villa's record win is 13-0, isn't it? I think it's 13-0. So,
are we getting a sneak peek of what your score prediction is going to be for tomorrow here?
I'm just saying, right? Someone's got to win, right? Someone's got to win. Yeah.
Yeah.
So if we think we beat Wednesbury Old Athletic, it was in 1886, 13-0. If we beat Wolves 13-0, who scored? Charlie Athersmith, maybe. I remember him. If we beat Wolves 13-0 and Watkins scores them all, then he's done it. No. I think it'll probably be based on how he started scoring again. It's likely that he's going to keep on, this little purple patch. I think it'll probably be around about maybe January time. I reckon the new year.
Mm-hmm.
So fingers crossed. And we've got some interesting ties coming up. January there's a game just after my birthday, home West Ham. That might be pretty nice. We've got Arsenal. He loves playing Arsenal. He's rumoured an Arsenal fan. We've got Arsenal away on the 18th of Jan. What about him breaking the record and us going top of the league in that game, beating a title rival? That'd be class, wouldn't it?
I hope it don't start affecting him though as it approaches, because he's quite a fragile one, Watkins, isn't he?
Yeah, he
You want
he
him to
starts
just
snatching
do
at
it.
chances, and
Yeah.
you just want him to do it. Yeah. You want him to get it in a get like similar to Saturday where we went past Dwight York. He just got it in the same game and went past him in the same game,
Yeah.
because you get to it would have been, if it had just got one on Saturday, it would have been, oh, you just need one more to beat Dwight York's record, just need one more to get into second position or whatever. So now he's done that. He's got a clear run at Gabby's record.
It's amazing though, lads, isn't it? I mean, obviously we're all sort of similar ages, but I guess it's something about being a kid. But I know I do. I hark back to the Dwight York days, and God, he was like an absolute god for me. He was so good, and I thought he was like the best thing since sliced bread. I really did. And and then fast forward, the best part of 20 years, and we all rate Watkins. We all love Watkins, but it hasn't got that magic of York being like when you're 10, 11 years old. All York's goals seem to be that bit better, didn't they? And he seems to be that bit much better of a player. But I think that's maybe just nostalgia playing its part. But it just shows you how well Watkins has done.
Kids now, 10, 11 will be like, Watkins, wow. Leon Bailey, wow. So, obviously when they're doing whatever their podcasts and stuff talking about back in the day, they'll be the same.
Yeah, well, my lad wants Watkins on his shirt when he gets the shirt, and but if I show him any old videos, he's like rolls his eyes at me and puts Roblox on or something. The great thing about Watkins though is he gets chances even when he's not in good form. I know it's all coulda, shoulda, woulda, right, but he easily could have got 2 more goals against Everton. The chances that that were there, he should have scored 2 against Arsenal. I mean, he'd only be 8 off Gabby if that had happened. So but I totally agree with you. By the way, Dwight York back in the day. The funny thing I was going to say about Dwight York, the game I remember most of Dwight York, obviously there was a few fantastic games, but was when Newcastle beat us 4-3.
I knew he was going to say that. Yeah.
And he got a hat trick, and he was the best player on the pitch. We lost.
We still bloody lost, didn't we?
Yeah. But he was just like sparkling, wasn't
unreal. Yeah. Chad, Villa Forever podcast. Great to have you in, mate. It says, let's give Gary Shaw a good tribute tomorrow. Both sets of supporters, absolutely, and let's put on a good show as well. Really good show in terms of the game. So let's finish up with our score prediction. So I've got loads in already. Very, very confident. Peter says 3-0 Villa. Rogers, Watkins, McGinn. Jason says 2-1 Villa. Kay says 3-1. Nice if we can keep a clean sheet, but can't see it. Gary's also agreeing 3-1. Rachel's going a bit tighter there, 2-1 Villa. As I said, Jason there, 2-1. Kev, what are you saying for tomorrow's score and scorers?
Well, if Carlos comes in, Konza goes right back, I feel a bit more secure defensively. So I fancy a clean sheet and I fancy a 2-0 victory. And I think there'll be goals for Ollie Watkins. And I'm gonna go Luca Digne's gonna get one. He's gonna whip in a free kick. There you go.
Interesting. Rich saying 3-0 Villa, very confident. Villa, Chad, as I said, saying 3-1 to Villa. Captain Villa is saying Duran will score another screamer. 91st minute for a 2-0 win. We're getting loads of chats. So Dicky saying statement win, clean sheet, 4-0. Matt K is saying 9-2 Villa with Duran with 7. Sai is saying 3-1 to Villa. So everyone's very, very confident.
If Duran gets 7, he'll go right up that list of top Premier League scorers for Villa.
He got there in the top 5, won't he?
Yeah. He'll just be on Watkins, I think. Yeah.
Paul, always confident. 6 for the Villa. Watkins with 4 goals. Duran and Rogers. And
I hope Paul has a bet every week.
Yeah, I do as well. One time he's got to win.
One time he'll put 20 quid on Villa to win 11-1, and he'll like pay his mortgage off. And I love it. It'd be great.
George, what about you?
Yeah, I think this might be a bit of a tough game for us, to be fair. No, I'm not saying it's not going to go away, but I've never ever seen Wolves roll over for Villa ever.
No.
Whether we've been better than them, average or whatever, they know it's a derby. I think they treat it more seriously than maybe we do. And yeah, obviously we've had the European exploits in the week. how we dealt with it well last year, to be fair. So there's no reason to say we shouldn't do this time. But this is the first time we've gone Saturday, Tuesday, rather than Sunday, Thursday. But I think, I think the feel good thing will get us through here, and I can see us winning this 2-1 with maybe a late winner. And I'll go Watkins and Ramsey.
Can I just counter you slightly? I do agree entirely about Wolves and our history of Wolves, and actually, it won't be an easy game. But it just came to me in a bit of a flash. I remember last season was easy. That home
What,
game
the home
against Wolves,
game?
yeah, it was easy. I remember there was a spell when I think the VAR or the assistant ref's mic went off, and there was about a 5 or 6 minute spell where the game was just dead, and it was dead where Villa were taking a corner. So Douglas Luiz was like orchestrating the crowd to Small Eve get battered for like 6-7 minutes straight. We were turning up, and I remember at the end of the game saying to people around me, that's the easiest 2-0 win I can remember in a long time. They didn't really do much to us at
No,
all.
they had
So
kids up front though, didn't they? They had
Yeah, I
no,
remember
Yeah, they
sitting on the
did.
train
players.
watching this game.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just saying that was that one example where I'm not suggesting, we could easily, lose tomorrow. But I just remember thinking that specifically was the one time when I just thought I didn't see the level of kind of fight and heart that I would have expected to see from it. And it was actually quite an easy game.
100%. Yeah, Rachel there just reminding everyone to hit the like button. But yeah, I think we'll win. I honestly do. And I said to Dan in the away end podcast that we did, the episode that we did earlier, opposition preview, I said I think it'll be 3-1 Villa. I think that we will go into a 2-0 lead. I think Watkins scores. I think Morgan Rogers breaks
due
that
one,
duck for
Rich,
the
isn't he?
season. And then I think Wolves score, and then we do just run away with it at the end with another goal. And I think maybe a Duran or Leon Bailey. I haven't decided yet in terms of who comes on and scores. So yeah, let's say Leon Bailey. I'll say Leon Bailey. We'll get the third, get the clincher. But yeah, I think we win. I think we're just I'd like to hope now we're a different proposition now with regards to the way we play and the way that teams approach coming to Villa Park, and even teams approach us away from home. You look at how Leicester let us have the ball. You look at how young boys in the Champions League let us have the ball. We're just a completely different proposition these days. Look at how Everton set up. I mean, even at 2-0, they're 25% possession or whatever it is, maybe even less than that. You knew we were going to create chances. You knew we were going to get back into the game. So it almost takes Villa to have a real off day now. The likes of, not saying we're at that level yet, but the likes of Man City, the likes of Arsenal, where you know that you have to basically ride your luck all game. Your keeper has to have an absolute blinder, and then you take your 1 or 2 chances. It's getting to that stage now where teams come to Villa with that mindset.
Yeah, it is. Well, look, Arsenal beat us 2-0, and we probably should have won the game. We ain't getting battered anymore, by teams. And it is, I know we're having tough games. We saw that last season plenty of times, Bournemouth, Brentford come to mind. Obviously, Forest when we lost, Newcastle, Liverpool. But it's a rarity now, isn't it? It's a real rarity, and you don't want to get overconfident with it, but
No.
you also have to say what you see. And what we've seen under this
All right,
manager,
Roy.
yeah, jeez, Mr. Chips is here. It's a good guess, but it's not Roy.
Who's Mr.
Sorry.
Chips?
Yeah, sorry. Under this manager, Mr. Unai, we're the 4th best team in the land for 2 years now, pretty much almost.
Yeah.
That's just a reality. So, I'll unapologetically, predict us to win. I am, I'm doing a prediction every week. Deontay on Twitter, obviously on X, does his predictions thing. And I think if it was my predictions, I think we'd get over 100 points and we win every game. But
Exactly.
that's just, and that's a confident Villa fan seeing what this team are doing right now. So sure, you can get a crazy result, but I think all the signs point at a Villa win by I think a decent margin, at least a couple of goals. Football doesn't work like that, but
Do you think, lads, do you think the fact that we were 2-0 down last week and we come back, do you reckon that sort of given that belief that even if we was to concede a goal, that it's not like the Villa of old, we used to fold, didn't we? We'd never, ever come back. But now we're like, do you know what? We can do this.
Absolutely. Any win breeds confidence, and any different type of win breeds that experience. You know that you've been, to the brink of a defeat, 2-0 defeat, and you've come back and won. If you get a clean sheet away from home, 1-2, 3-0 win like we got on Tuesday, that breeds that little bit of confidence as well. You get a 1-0 win away from home, or you win 2-1 and you're under the cosh right to the end of the game. All those things amount to that experience. I also think we've got players on the bench that can completely change a game. Like we had in the first game of the season. He makes 3 subs, they all combine for the winning goal. He's got that in his locker as well. So you've got a substitution in Ross Barkley who can come on and start helping you control games and start bringing players into the game more if you need that. You've got defenders who you can bring on. You've got Ian Matson who can get further up the pitch quicker. You've got even Kostin Nedeljkovic who can do the same on the right-hand side if need be. So he's got so many options now that, he can almost, we can win the game from the off, but we could also control a game and then bring players on to win the game later on.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. And I actually think that kind of that culture and that mindset of the team has massively under Emery. I can think of examples of obviously that great comeback we did obviously against Bournemouth with that Watkins header. There was the home winning run, looked like it was massively in jeopardy in injury time almost against Palace at home. We ended up winning it 3-1. Spurs, I think last season we were 1-0 down, came back to win 2-1 away from home.
Had a few good comebacks.
Yeah, but I don't think we've had a 2-0, 2-goal deficit happen and then do what a proper big team would do and come back and win it 3-2. So I just think we're in a situation now where I think, we're never out of a game, even games that we've lost. I even remember that, I think I made this point sort of last season in sort of the January, February period when we had a couple of bad results, Newcastle, Chelsea. But in those games, we came back into the games, we got a goal back and then we looked like we nearly scored again. And I'm just thinking this team now, their confidence levels are sky high. What more do you need? You have the best performance ever against the Pep Guardiola side, and you say, well, Roger was out, but they're still the 4 times consecutive Premier League champions. You've got, the best squad in the league. You beat Arsenal home and away. I just think that there's confidence coursing through their veins, this team. So I think it will give them, George, a hell of a lot of confidence that's happened. And, look, you make a mistake at the back, the fans start singing that player's name rather than booing them, rather than getting on the case. You go a goal down. It's just sometimes you go a goal down, sometimes you go a goal up. But the balance of probability is that at the moment we're going to win more games than we lose, and it's a great world to be in.
Well, look, hopefully, and we're confident that we're gonna get the W, gonna get the win tomorrow, and we'll be all buzzing in our match reactions that we've got to come. So yes, make sure you stay tuned to the channel, everyone. We'll have all of our usual shows coming up. We'll have instant match reaction from me, maybe outside the ground. We'll have full match reaction on Sunday night. We'll have talking tactics with Gareth, and we'll have our preview for the Wickham game. The games are coming thick and fast, so make sure you guys stick with the channel. Hit the like button. I know loads of you in the comments have been saying that. Smash that like button on your way out. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. Help us on the road to 5K. Boys, thank you very much for jumping on tonight. It's great chat as always. Thank you everyone for watching. Have a great night. Have a great weekend. Hopefully a winning weekend. And as always, remember, we all follow the Villa.